you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
You like the new music?
Yeah, it's good. I was like going, when did she change that?
I've been busy in the background.
It's a little more, I don't know, poppy or something, I guess.
Yeah, I was just in the mood for a change.
Cool.
Things are always changing. I figured we needed to mix it up and change it up and do all that kind of stuff because, sometimes everything else is changing in the world. I figured why not us too?
Everything's changing by the minute. By the minute.
It's crazy. So we've talked a lot about AI changing and
Yeah.
keeping up and new tools coming out, all that kind of stuff. But if you go back to the old quote unquote tried and true, which probably aren't really tried and true anymore, everything's changing.
Yeah. And in particular in social media, right? So every time you turn around, there's something new happening or something is no longer happening, right?
Well, that's the interesting part, right? It's the no longer happening. And there's a lot that's going on in the social media landscape right now. And the interesting part is that it's actually very difficult right now. Well, let's just talk first of all about Meta, Facebook, Instagram, but specifically Facebook, because we haven't talked about Facebook in a long time. We talked about all the new fun tools, but what's really interesting on the Facebook front is that Facebook has decided, and it's very vague as to the reasons why, but they've decided to discontinue the API into Facebook groups. So basically what that means for people who don't know what API means, it basically is sort of a door that opens to allow third-party apps like streaming services like this. We used to do our hot topics and we'd stream into our Facebook groups along with all the other destinations that we had set up. And we can no longer do that. Third-party scheduling apps that are very popular. So anything that you use to pre-schedule or to create your social media content, where you go send it over here to the Facebook page, to Twitter/X, to Instagram, all of the social media platforms that you're using, you would include Facebook groups in that particular subset of platforms that you're posting to, and you are no longer going to be able to do that. They announced it back in January that it was going to be a 3-month or sort of 90 days till it ended. So a lot of people are having heart attacks because they use streaming software and they use their Facebook groups as their community. So they use streaming software as like we're using here, Wave. And before we used to be able to stream into our Facebook group, and now we can't because Facebook decided to go click, turn that off.
And we've always said, you guys, we've always told you, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Because that's what happens. When social media controls your business, then you have no recourse when they decide to say, we no longer want to do this anymore. And then everything's gone. So if you don't have a backup plan, it's a real problem. And that's why we discontinued our Facebook groups a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because I was doing a lot of reading trying to understand the why. And everywhere that I'm looking, it's vague. And I know one of the places that I was reading, one of their hypotheses was, of course, ads, right? Like they don't get any revenue from Facebook groups. And as we know, and we've mentioned many times, these social media platforms are a business. They survive on making money. And if it's not a revenue generating place, although I think that's a little short-sighted, I don't know if that's true. That was just one article's opinion.
Yeah, I don't know because that seems, I'm not sure if that's it. There's got to be a reason. We don't really know what it is. But if I was in charge of Meta, I wouldn't do that because that's the one thing that's really holding Facebook is people have all their groups, right? They have their groups on Facebook. So a lot of people still...
And people are going to go to Facebook to see what's going on in that group. And then they will also see other things like ads that would, again, increase their revenue.
Yeah, so at least you're keeping them on the platform. But by taking away things instead, I mean, they should be adding, not taking away. So little surprised. I don't really understand it. There must be a reason for it. But again, it's irrelevant. What the reason is irrelevant. The only part that you need to understand is the fact that if you do stream to your groups, and that's an important part of your group, you need to understand that you need to make changes.
And if you include your Facebook group in your posting strategy and your social media strategy, again, if you have a social media management company out there and you rely on them using some of these third-party apps to post into groups, they will no longer be able to support that. They will have to go in manually. And it causes a lot of complication. And in a day where there are new apps coming on the market, there's new platforms for people to do business, there's new places where people are hanging out, I'm kind of surprised that Facebook would make this move, because I think it's going to deter people from using groups, when I agree with you. That's what's holding Facebook together.
Yeah, and sometimes I think Facebook, I don't know, Meta lives in a silo. Sometimes I'm a little surprised how they make their decisions, because obviously what they've done in the last while has made people move off platform like us.
Right.
We don't really
Yeah.
use it much.
Not as much. Yeah.
We use it to post. We use it to occasionally do events. But I mean, the truth is, most of our people are not on Facebook. So it's not something, but it's kind of like people have to keep their antennas up, right? They have to understand what's going on. So yesterday I was literally, no, it wasn't even yesterday, it was this morning, 4 in the morning.
Been a long day already.
I was scrolling and reading that, in fact, a lot of the countries, as we know, have banned TikTok off government devices, and now they're looking at banning TikTok completely because it's owned in China, and the governments are afraid that they're utilizing that information and getting all that access to all these countries. And so it was interesting because, like, a lot of the posts were saying, well, if TikTok leaves, try something else like Clapper, which I'd never heard of. And they are in the US, and it's very TikTok looking. Yep. And so, of course, I just signed up right away just so I would get my name. So I did that. But I mean, it's just another example of why you can't rely on a social media platform to keep all of your pieces of your business going. So you really need to invest in something that's yours, that no one can say, guess what? As of tomorrow, you no longer have access to this. And it's not just, Stacey, it's not just people's Meta saying we're going to take away this feature. What if they block you out, right? I mean, we've had accounts that we lost for no reason because somebody claimed that we were using their name or something. I don't know what. I don't even know why we lost it. It had nothing to do with Mastermind City, but we couldn't get it back, even though it was our account.
Yeah.
And so, do you want to really put all your eggs in one basket and hope that you'll be in the good graces of people like Meta or companies like Meta?
Well, and that's why that tried and true statement that we said 1 billion years ago, before all these new social media platforms came out, a lot of people were comparing, well, I don't need an email list because I have my social media following. And then we went through a little bit of a time where people were saying, email is dead because social media is so vibrant, you don't need a list. Well, we've said it for 1 billion years, and we'll say it again. You don't own your social media following. No. If Facebook decides one day to click that button and go, we're done, where are all those followers? What about all those? You don't have that information. If LinkedIn decided to go, click, we're done, we're bored, we don't want to do that. You need to have a place where you own your list. You have those people have signed up, they've trusted you one-on-one. You need to have a place where people can interact with you that's outside of social media, because you never know and you don't have control over there. Look at what happened with everyone's upset because Twitter changed their name. Okay, well, now it's X. I still haven't gotten used to that one.
X. Everyone calls it Twitter.
It's still Twitter. I don't care what he does. Yeah. But it's so weird. I go on people's website and I see that X and I'm like, what's that? Oh, yeah, right. It's Twitter. I keep forgetting about it.
But I mean, it's true. And we've been talking for years about trying out 1,000 different communities that we've tried pretty much everything that's been on the marketplace, from very little money to ridiculously overpriced. And we've done them all. And we wanted to find the best solution, obviously, where we could control our community, that we didn't have to worry about it going bye-bye, right? And I think
the challenge was that Facebook groups tried to be the community. Then LinkedIn decided to jump on the group bandwagon and they decided, well, no, that's where you should be holding your professional community. And then WhatsApp came along and they're like, well, now, no, this is the best way to have a community. And then Voxer came along and like, there's so many different places. The problem is that, well, I'm like, well, I'm not, as we know, well, we can't have a group on Facebook because, well, I don't want to go on Facebook to access your information. Well, now I have to log into LinkedIn. Well, I'm not on LinkedIn very often, so I'm going to miss information. So it's just it's not a good practice to rely on a social media platform in today's world where they do unfortunately come and go.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get us wrong. We love social media.
Yeah.
We love being able to access everybody on it. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that if they go away, they can still find our information, right?
That's the problem. I mean, social media is very much, like you just said, we're not dissing social media. We're on it every day. It is still an integral part of doing business online, being part of that. But it's just being aware that social media does change. New platforms do come. Some of them come and go, as we've seen in the past. Trends happen. Facebook is still there, but Facebook is making changes that you can't control. So understanding how your business is on social media, understanding how your social media marketing fits into your overall marketing strategy, and also understanding if you're handing over your social media to another company and they're going to continually to post, understanding that as a business owner helps the conversation with your social media management company to understand how they are now going to help you if posting into a Facebook group is part of your business.
Well, look what we're doing right now. We are coming to you live on one of our softwares, which is Wave. That's who we're using right now. And what's happening? We own our video, right?
Yeah.
We can put it up on our own site, which you may be watching on right now. You may be watching Hot Topics on Hot Topics at Mastermind City. You may be watching it on social media. You may be watching it on LinkedIn. You may be watching it on something else. But the reality is, this is our video, our feed. And if anyone else goes away, we still own this feed. We still own this video. We are just pushing it out to social media. So that's really key. So if you don't, if you're not doing it and you're just going live on you're clicking your Facebook Live button and you're going live, that's only going to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, again, we said you have to be careful with where you're putting your proprietary information and making sure that you can access it. So everything that we post on YouTube, for example, which I don't think YouTube's the one that I don't think you're going to have to worry about, but we
I don't
still
think
have
Google's
those
going
videos,
anywhere.
right? We still have them. So, we have access to everything we need. And if you don't, that's important for you to understand. But more important than just that is, how do you reach your community?
Exactly. And where are they hanging out? And also understanding that these third-party apps make it very easy. So again, we do a lot of shout outs to Wave that enables us to reach different people. But we also didn't rely on, and I don't even understand, I'm trying to even understand in today's world what that looks like if you have a very vibrant, active Facebook group, and we're no longer able to stream into that group, or you're no longer able, so then you would have to do a different feed for that. That causes, again, very short-sighted from their perspective. So again, thank you.
I'm gonna throw out another example for people so they understand. So we invested in a software it's been more than a couple of years, 3-4 years ago. Good software. It's called Groove. I'm sure some of you have invested in it. Good software. They have e-com stores, landing pages, memberships, you name it. Why did I buy that software? I bought that software for one specific reason, that we could do live streaming. So it was before we got onto Wave, it was an opportunity we were using StreamYard, which is fantastic, but we wanted to own the software, right? So we wanted to pay one price, have the software, be able to do it. So we bought Groove. I bought Groove anyway, on the basis of I wanted the live streaming component. 3 or 4 years later, they still don't have it.
Yeah.
And it bothers me. I hope Groove is watching. I hope I come into your algorithms, because what they did is they focused on all this other stuff, but one of their key selling features was that they would have live video. So if we had waited for that feature, we wouldn't come to you live right now, would we? So that's again one of those pieces. It's a learning experience in that you can't rely on one specific item, one specific software, platform, social media, you name it. You have to have your contingency plans.
I was just going to
So,
say the backup plan for the backup plan. And again, if you're working with a social media management company, it's really important to continually have those conversations with them, because things change in your industry, things change from a technology perspective. And I've always been a big proponent of, even if you're not going to do it yourself, make sure you understand how to do it, or make sure you understand how it's done, because that's the only way you're going to know if it's being done well, is to understand all of this stuff, stay on top of it as much as you can. Obviously, we
right.
love it, so we're on top of all of the different things that are happening, but at least understand that Facebook groups are not able to be streamed, and not kind of go, oh, well, wait a minute, I thought you were doing this. Oh, well, no, that changed, months ago.
Right.
Where if a good social media management company should be coming to you and saying, oh, by the way, there's changes that are coming. This is what we're going to do to circumvent this. This is how we're going to fix it for you, so that you can continually have content in those groups. So that's just sort of another PSA to be able to reach out to your company who's doing that for you.
Yeah.
Because we have social media management clients, and they already know what's going on. And that's why we wanted to tell you this today.
Yeah.
So it's
And that's
interesting.
just one little thing. And there's
Yeah.
so many different things happening on every social media platform. Every time you turn around, they're adding, taking away, changing the algorithms so that, one day they're pushing carousels, next day it's reels and videos, and next day they're going back to photos. Like, it's just crazy, and it's hard to keep up just when, I mean, I'll give you a good example. There's a lot of people that are just saying, okay, I'm going to finally get into doing a story. Right?
Exactly.
And now they're going, well, you're not going to get the algorithms, you're not going to get the reach, like it's fascinating, because it takes that long for someone to actually get on board and understand that piece of the puzzle. Then when they're finally there, the social media platform says, oops, sorry.
We've changed our mind. Now we're going to focus on photos, but I just got into doing videos.
Yeah.
Hang
So,
on, stop the presses.
and I always know something's changing when I see somebody who's not very proficient at it start using something that was very 6 months ago, which seems like a very short time
So
frame.
last 6 months ago. It was so last month.
But you sit there and you go, oh, well, that means that it's done. Because if that person's starting to do it, move on to the next thing. So it's fascinating, but you have to keep, as Stacey said, you have to keep on top of it. You have to make sure that you're at least reading through some feeds once in a while that just gets you to understand what's happening. Go absolutely grab some social media newsletters. Come to us, come watch Hot Topics every week, or better than that, come into our community, because then you will have access to all the stuff that we're doing, that we're working on. And what we're trying to do is keep up with everything that's out there so that we don't fall behind, because, we can see that coming. So just as I said, TikTok is starting to be banned in certain countries. We can't ignore the fact that it might outright be banned. And so you better decide where you're moving. This Clapper app, which I don't know a lot about, but as I said, I signed up with, it's based in the US. They offer lots of different incentives for you to actually make money on the app. So might be interesting. I think they launched a couple of years ago and was kind of quiet and didn't really take off. But if TikTok gets banned, it is absolutely going to take off. So those are the kind of things that you constantly have to watch. We sign up for every new social media platform, if we like it or not.
Yep. And it's the same. And you do have to, like, I remember back in the day of Clubhouse. right? Like back in 2021, we were like, we got on the list and we felt like,
Yeah.
okay, this is going to be great. And how long did it last? About 2 months,
And
maybe?
don't, for you clubhousers that are going to, please don't send us DMs. We know you're still on it, and that's great if you
Awesome.
have a little following and you're doing well. But what it was did never materialize.
It never materialized. But it's interesting because your first instinct would be to go, oh well, if TikTok gets shut down, well then we would just move over to Reels. Isn't it pretty much the
Yeah.
same thing? Blah blah blah. But what's fascinating is that people who are true TikTokers who really do love the app they're on, they don't necessarily want to go the Instagram route.
No.
So it might be interesting to see how Clapper
Yeah.
comes on board and is
And
because they're
Instagram,
yeah,
you still, which we love, we have no issue with Instagram, but it is owned by Meta. And so
right.
if Meta decides to do something weird on Instagram, it would be literally overnight. They could just go boom, that feature's no longer available. Right.
Exactly.
And they tried, I mean, they tried with the whole subscription thing,
Yeah.
never really took off. Right. I don't think a ton of people are making money on subscriptions to their Instagram feeds because it's not really, it's kind of an in between. It's not really community. You know what I mean? It's not really a group. It's kind of a weird, I don't know. People can't really get their head around, what am I subscribing for? Like a little bit more content. Well, maybe I should just go on their platform and subscribe, or, a little bit different there. It's still, you can go live, but does anyone really understand it? I don't think a lot of people do.
I think unfortunately what Meta is doing is they're throwing the book at Instagram, right? That
Mhm.
all of a sudden they saw TikTok, they just decided to start Reels.
Yeah.
Twitter was changing to X. They thought everyone was going to get off their platform. Boom, Threads showed up.
Threads, which died a very short. I mean, do you know
It's still
anyone who actually
there.
worked
People
on
are
it?
still, but again, it becomes a place that is just part of your sort of posting platform. I don't see a lot of engagement on that. X, it didn't die. So Threads came and left very, very quickly. We jumped on the
Yeah.
bandwagon to check it out. And then we're like, okay, well, this isn't really a very cool hangout place,
No.
kind of thing. But we always check it out. We always get onto it. We're always have to make sure, and we always give it a chance
Yeah,
because it's
absolutely.
important.
We tried Be Real for a while, right?
Yep.
But we felt like there was not a big benefit to it,
No. And then we
right?
tried Laps for a while. That was another one that was sort of Laps was very interesting. It had a peak and then it died just as fast. So
Yeah.
now I don't see any posts from Laps either. So again, those social media platforms do come and go. There are some ones
Yeah.
that stay for a while. It's just important to understand who you are doing business with, where they want to hang out, and make sure that you're not relying on a third party platform like social media to house community interactions and that kind of stuff, because again, they can click that button and that's not good.